Gilded Hearts, the Forbidden Love of Mansa Musa. In the heart of West Africa, the Golden Empire of Mali stood as a testament to the heights of human achievement. Stretching from the verdant banks of the Niger River to the arid expanse of the Sahara Desert, this vast kingdom was a beacon of wealth, culture, and power. Under the enlightened rule of Mansa Musa, the empire reached the pinnacle of its glory, an era that would be remembered for its unparalleled prosperity and intellectual flourishing. The streets of Niani, the empire's capital, were a vivid reflection of Mali's affluence. Markets bustled with activity, overflowing with traders peddling goods from every corner of the known world: exquisite textiles, spices, precious metals, and more. The city was adorned with grand edifices, their walls adorned with intricate carvings and vibrant frescoes depicting scenes of daily life and historical events. The air was always filled with the mingling scents of exotic foods and the sound of music and laughter, creating an atmosphere of perpetual celebration. At the heart of this vibrant city lay Mansa Musa's opulent palace, a sprawling complex that embodied the empire's grandeur. The palace was a marvel of architecture, with its high walls and towering spires, its halls bedecked with the finest silks, and its floors inlaid with precious stones. Gardens filled with rare flowers and fruit trees provided a tranquil escape from the bustling city outside. Here, within these resplendent walls, Mansa Musa presided over his court, dispensing justice and wisdom with an even hand. Musa Keita, later known as Mansa Musa, ascended to the throne in 1312 CE following the mysterious disappearance of his predecessor, Abu Bakr II, who had ventured into the Atlantic Ocean with a fleet of ships in search of the unknown and never returned. This sudden vacancy on the throne thrust Musa, then a relatively unknown prince, into the highest position of power in the Mali Empire. The day of Musa's coronation dawned bright and clear, the sky a vast expanse of azure over Niani, the capital of Mali. The city was a tapestry of color and sound, with streets lined with banners and flags bearing the imperial emblem. The air was filled with the scent of incense and the rhythm of drums as people from all corners of the empire gathered to witness the historic event. The grand palace courtyard, where the ceremony was to take place, was adorned with gold and silk. The royal guard, resplendent in their uniforms, stood in formation, their spears and shields gleaming in the sunlight. Dignitaries from various provinces, as well as foreign envoys, filled the stands, their attire as diverse and colorful as the lands they represented. Musa, clad in robes of the finest silk, embroidered with gold threads, approached the golden throne. His heart pounded with a mixture of excitement and gravity, aware of the immense responsibility he was about to undertake. The high priest stepped forward, holding the ceremonial crown, an exquisite piece encrusted with jewels. "Do you, Musa Keita, swear to uphold the laws of Mali, to protect its people, and to lead with wisdom and justice?" the high priest intoned, his voice resonating through the courtyard. "I swear," Musa replied, his voice steady and strong. As the crown was placed upon his head, a wave of applause and cheers erupted from the crowd. The new Mansa Musa looked out over his people, feeling the weight of the crown and the hopes of the empire resting upon his shoulders. Under Mansa Musa's astute leadership, the Mali Empire entered a period of unprecedented prosperity and expansion. One of his first actions as ruler was to consolidate the loyalty of his generals and provincial governors, ensuring that his ascent to power was unchallenged and his rule stable. Musa's vast army, led by formidable generals such as Mamadou and Umar, played a crucial role in securing the empire's borders and expanding its territories. These generals were not only skilled warriors, but also shrewd diplomats who knew how to negotiate alliances and treaties that benefited the empire. "We must secure our borders and expand our influence," Musa declared during a council meeting. "Mali shall be known not only for its wealth, but for its strength and unity. Under his directive, the army embarked on several successful campaigns, incorporating new territories into the empire and securing control over critical trade routes. The gold mines in regions like Bambouk and Bure were meticulously managed, ensuring a steady flow of wealth. The revenues from these mines, combined with the lucrative trade in salt, ivory, and other goods, made Mali one of the richest kingdoms in the world. In addition to military expansion, Musa invested heavily in infrastructure. He oversaw the construction of well-maintained roads that connected various parts of the empire, facilitating trade and communication. Market towns flourished, becoming bustling hubs of economic activity where merchants from far and wide came to trade their goods. Mansa Musa's vision for Mali extended beyond wealth and territorial expansion. He was deeply devoted to Islam and saw in his faith a guiding principle for his reign. In 1324 CE, Musa embarked on a pilgrimage to Mecca, a journey that not only demonstrated his piety, but also showcased the immense wealth of Mali. The pilgrimage itself was legendary. Musa traveled with a caravan that included tens of thousands of attendants, camels laden with gold, and provisions for the journey. His generosity was unmatched. He distributed gold so lavishly that it caused inflation in the regions he passed through. This act of benevolence not only highlighted Mali's opulence, but also established diplomatic and economic ties with other Islamic states. In addition to military expansion, Musa invested heavily in infrastructure. He oversaw the construction of well-maintained roads that connected various parts of the empire, facilitating trade and communication. Market towns flourished, becoming bustling hubs of economic activity where merchants from far and wide came to trade their goods. Mansa Musa's vision for Mali extended beyond wealth and territorial expansion. He was deeply devoted to Islam and saw in his faith a guiding principle for his reign. In 1324 CE, Musa embarked on a pilgrimage to Mecca, a journey that not only demonstrated his piety, but also showcased the immense wealth of Mali. The pilgrimage itself was legendary. Musa traveled with a caravan that included tens of thousands of attendants, camels laden with gold, and provisions for the journey. His generosity was unmatched. He distributed gold so lavishly that it caused inflation in the regions he passed through. This act of benevolence not only highlighted Mali's opulence, but also established diplomatic and economic ties with other Islamic states. Upon his return from Mecca, Musa initiated a cultural and educational renaissance within his empire. He commissioned the construction of grand mosques and madrasas, most notably the Djeneba Mosque in Timbuktu, which became centers of learning and scholarship. Education is the bedrock of a prosperous and enlightened society, Musa often declared. His vision was to transform Mali into a center of intellectual and cultural brilliance, where learning and art thrived alongside commerce and governance. Musa's policies also promoted social welfare and justice. He implemented systems that ensured fair taxation, supported agricultural development, and provided for the needy. His reign was marked by a commitment to the well-being of his subjects, earning him the love and loyalty of his people. One sultry evening, as the setting sun cast a golden hue over Timbuktu, Mansa Musa held court in the grand hall of his palace. The hall, resplendent with gold and adorned with intricate tapestries, was abuzz with discussions of state affairs and the latest news from the far corners of the empire. It was a place where power and beauty intertwined, and on this particular evening, a new presence drew every eye. The doors to the grand hall opened, and Djeneba entered, her appearance immediately captivating those present. She moved with an elegance that spoke of noble upbringing, her dark skin glowing in the golden light of the setting sun. Her hair was intricately braided, adorned with tiny gold beads that clicked softly with her every step. Her eyes, though filled with sorrow, held a spark of determination that seemed to challenge the very air around her. Musa's gaze fell upon her, intrigued by the contrast between her evident sadness and the strength she exuded. Whispers spread through the hall as she approached the throne, flanked by 2 guards who announced her arrival. "Your Majesty, this is Djeneba, a noblewoman from a distant village. She seeks refuge from the conflicts that have besieged her homeland." Musa leaned forward, his interest piqued. "Rise, Djeneba, and tell us of your journey." Djeneba rose gracefully, her voice steady despite the turmoil that had brought her here. "Your Majesty, I come from a land torn apart by war and betrayal. My family, once rulers of a peaceful village, were overthrown by rivals. I fled to save my life and seek your protection." Her words were simple, yet they carried the weight of untold suffering. The court listened in rapt attention, captivated by her story and her presence. Musa's eyes never left her face, sensing there was more to her tale than what she revealed. "You have endured much, Djeneba," Musa said thoughtfully. "Our empire is a haven for those in need. You shall have a place here." Djeneba's integration into court life was swift. She was given quarters in the palace and a position that allowed her to remain close to the center of power. Her intelligence and composure quickly earned her the admiration of many within the court. Musa, too, found himself increasingly drawn to her, not just for her beauty, but for the sharp mind and keen insight she offered during discussions. One evening, Musa summoned Djeneba to his private study, a room filled with maps, books, and artifacts from across the empire. He wished to learn more about her and the land she came from. "Djeneba," Musa began, "your presence here has sparked much interest. Tell me more about your homeland and the conflicts that have brought you here." Djeneba hesitated, her eyes briefly betraying the secrets she held. "My homeland was once a place of peace and prosperity, much like Mali, but greed and ambition led to its downfall. My family's enemies conspired against us, and we were unprepared for their treachery." Musa nodded, understanding the weight of political betrayal. "And what of your family? Did any survive?" Djeneba's eyes darkened with sorrow. "My father and brothers were killed in the initial attack. My mother and sisters, I do not know their fate. I was separated from them in the chaos." Musa reached out, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You have found safety here, Djeneba. Mali will be your new home." Djeneba quickly adapted to the life in the palace. Her charm and wit won over many courtiers, and her keen observations made her a valuable advisor. She was often seen in the company of Musa, offering insights on matters of state and foreign relations. Her presence brought a new energy to the court, one that was both refreshing and enigmatic. One afternoon, as they walked through the palace gardens, Musa turned to Djeneba. "You have a unique perspective, Djeneba. Your counsel has been invaluable, but I sense there is much you still hold back." Djeneba smiled softly, her eyes meeting his. "There are parts of my past that are painful to revisit, Your Majesty, but know that I am loyal to you and to Mali." Musa stopped, looking deeply into her eyes. "I do not doubt your loyalty, but remember, you are not alone here. Whatever burdens you carry, you can share them." Djeneba's gaze softened, and for a moment, the wall she had built around her heart seemed to lower. "Thank you, Musa. Your kindness is more than I could have hoped for." As weeks turned into months, Djeneba's place in the court became firmly established. Her beauty and grace continued to captivate, but it was her intelligence and strength that truly earned her respect. Musa, increasingly drawn to her, found in Djeneba not just an advisor, but a confidant. Yet, beneath her composed exterior, Djeneba harbored secrets that could alter the course of the empire. Despite the strict codes of conduct within the palace, an undeniable attraction sparked between Mansa Musa and Djeneba. Their clandestine meetings, concealed within the labyrinthine corridors of the palace, became a solace from the burdens of leadership and a world mired in political intrigue. They found themselves drawn together by their shared dreams and aspirations for the empire. Their first secret meeting occurred almost by accident. One evening, Musa had retired to a secluded alcove within the palace gardens, seeking respite from a particularly arduous day of state affairs. He was surprised to find Djeneba already there, gazing at the stars. "Your Majesty," she said, rising quickly, a look of surprise on her face. "Please stay," Musa replied, his voice soft. "Tonight, I am just Musa, seeking a moment of peace." Djeneba hesitated but then nodded, resuming her seat on the stone bench. Musa joined her, and for a few moments they sat in companionable silence, the night air filled with the scent of blooming jasmine. "I often come here to think," Djeneba said finally. "The stars remind me that there is a world beyond our troubles, a world of possibilities." Musa smiled, appreciating the depth of her words. "I find comfort in that thought as well. Tell me, Djeneba, what do you see when you look at the stars?" Her eyes sparkled with a mix of sadness and hope. "I see a future where peace reigns, and where the suffering of our people is but a distant memory. I see a Mali that is not only powerful, but wise and compassionate." Musa looked at her, feeling a warmth spread through him. "Your vision is beautiful, Djeneba. It is a vision I share." Their meetings became more frequent, often under the guise of discussing state matters. Djeneba's insights into foreign cultures and politics proved invaluable, and Musa increasingly relied on her counsel. Their conversations, initially formal and focused on the empire's affairs, began to drift into more personal territory. One evening, as they walked through the palace library, Musa turned to Djeneba. "You have a unique understanding of people, Djeneba. How did you come to possess such knowledge?" Djeneba smiled, her eyes distant. "I have traveled much in my life, Your Majesty. I have seen the best and worst of humanity. Each experience, each person I've met, has taught me something valuable." Musa nodded, his admiration for her growing. "You are a remarkable woman, Djeneba. I am grateful for your presence here." As days turned into weeks, their interactions became more intimate. Musa found himself drawn to Djeneba not just for her intellect, but for the warmth and kindness she exuded. He admired her strength and the quiet resilience that seemed to define her. The palace was a maze of corridors and hidden chambers, perfect for their clandestine meetings. They met in secluded gardens, dimly lit libraries, and quiet alcoves, away from the prying eyes of the court. One night, Musa and Djeneba found themselves in a hidden courtyard, the moon casting a silvery glow over the ancient stone walls. Musa took Djeneba's hand, his touch gentle yet firm. "Djeneba," he began, his voice filled with emotion, "I find myself thinking of you constantly. Your presence brings light to my darkest days." Djeneba looked up at him, her eyes filled with a mix of fear and longing. "Musa, we must be careful. The court is rife with rumors, and our relationship could bring unwanted attention." "I care not for the whispers of courtiers," Musa said, his voice resolute. "What matters to me is you, Djeneba, your heart, your soul. Together we can build a future that reflects our dreams." Djeneba's heart pounded in her chest. She felt a deep connection to Musa, a bond that transcended the boundaries of duty and propriety. "Musa, I feel the same, but we must be cautious. The stakes are too high." Musa nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. "We will be careful, but know this, Djeneba, my feelings for you are true and unwavering." Despite their best efforts to keep their relationship secret, rumors began to spread among the courtiers. Some viewed Djeneba with suspicion, questioning her sudden rise to favor and the true nature of her relationship with the emperor. Whispers of their meetings reached the ears of those who were not well disposed towards her. One day, Ibrahim, a trusted advisor, approached Musa with a concerned expression. Your Majesty, there are troubling rumors about your relationship with Djeneba. Some question her loyalty and intentions. Musa's expression hardened. Ibrahim, Djeneba has proven her loyalty time and again. She is a trusted advisor and a dear friend. I will not tolerate baseless accusations against her. Ibrahim bowed his head, recognizing the finality in Musa's tone. As you wish, Your Majesty, but be mindful of the court's sentiments. As the love between Musa and Djeneba deepened, so did the danger surrounding them. Ibrahim, a trusted advisor, and Isa, a revered general, began to suspect Djeneba's true intentions. They observed her keenly, noting her influence over Musa and her interest in state affairs. Was she merely a woman seeking refuge? Or was there a more sinister plot afoot? The atmosphere in the palace had shifted subtly. Whispers and furtive glances replaced the usual decorum as courtiers speculated about the nature of Djeneba's relationship with Mansa Musa. Ibrahim and Isa, both seasoned and astute, sensed that something was amiss. Ibrahim, have you noticed how much time the emperor spends with Djeneba? Isa asked one evening as they walked through the palace gardens. I have, Ibrahim replied, his tone cautious. There is more to this woman than meets the eye. We must protect the emperor and the empire from potential threats. Their conversations often took place in secluded corners of the palace, away from prying eyes and ears. They knew that openly questioning Musa's judgment could be dangerous, so they resolved to gather evidence discreetly. Ibrahim and Isa formed a secret alliance, aiming to uncover the truth and protect the empire at all costs. They began by monitoring Djeneba's interactions and movements within the palace. Ibrahim, with his connections in the court, discreetly gathered intelligence from the servants and guards who had daily interactions with Djeneba. One evening, Ibrahim met with a palace servant in a shadowy alcove. What can you tell me about Djeneba's activities? He asked, his voice low. She spends a lot of time in the library and the gardens, the servant replied. She often meets with scholars and advisors, discussing state affairs and foreign politics. Ibrahim nodded, considering the information. And her interactions with the emperor? They are frequent and private, the servant said. She has his ear, that much is clear. Isa, meanwhile, focused on uncovering Djeneba's past. He summoned a trusted scout, a man who had traveled extensively and had a knack for uncovering hidden truths. Find out everything you can about Djeneba before she came to Timbuktu, Isa instructed. Speak to those who might have encountered her on her journey. Leave no stone unturned. The scout departed on his mission, traveling to the villages and towns Djeneba was rumored to have passed through. His journey took him to distant lands, where he spoke to traders, villagers, and anyone who might have crossed paths with her. As days turned into weeks, Ibrahim and Isa's investigation began to reveal inconsistencies in Djeneba's story. The scout returned with troubling news. Isa, there are gaps in Djeneba's tale, the scout reported. In one village, she claimed to be fleeing from bandits. In another, she said her family was overthrown by rivals. Her story changes depending on who she is speaking to. Isa frowned, the pieces of the puzzle slowly falling into place. We need to confront her, but we must be careful. Musa's feelings for her complicate matters. Ibrahim agreed. We cannot act without definitive proof. We must continue to watch her and gather more evidence. Despite their caution, the tension within the palace grew palpable. Musa, sensing the unrest, called a meeting with his closest advisors, including Ibrahim and Isa. I have heard rumors, Musa began, his gaze steady. Rumors that some of you question Djeneba's presence and her intentions? Speak freely, for I value your counsel. Ibrahim stepped forward, his voice measured. Your Majesty, our concern is for your safety and the stability of the empire. Djeneba's background is unclear, and her influence over you has raised questions. Musa's eyes narrowed. Are you accusing her of deceit? Issa interjected. We seek only to ensure that those who serve you are trustworthy. Djeneba's story has inconsistencies. We must protect the empire from any potential threat. Musa looked between his two trusted advisors, the weight of their words pressing down on him. Your loyalty is commendable, but understand this, I trust Djeneba. Until there is irrefutable proof of wrongdoing, she remains under my protection. As Ibrahim and Issa continued their covert investigation, the shadow of suspicion loomed over the palace. Their alliance, formed to protect the emperor and the empire, grew stronger even as the bonds of trust between Musa and his advisors were tested. Aissata, a wise and perceptive healer in the court, had always been observant of the people around her. Her knowledge of herbs and remedies was unparalleled, but it was her insight into human nature that truly set her apart. She had been watching Djeneba closely, sensing that there was more to her than met the eye. One afternoon, while going through some old records in the palace archives, Aissata stumbled upon a document that triggered a long-forgotten memory. It was a treaty between Mali and a neighboring kingdom, signed years ago. Among the names listed was that of a young princess, Djeneba, who had been part of the royal family. The realization struck Aissata like a bolt of lightning. I remember her now, Aissata whispered to herself, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. She had spent time in the neighboring kingdom during her youth, learning about their healing practices. She had met Djeneba then, a young princess full of promise and potential. Aissata's heart pounded as she made her way to Djeneba's quarters. The truth had to be confronted, and the implications were grave. Djeneba was in her chambers, lost in thought when Aissata entered. She looked up, surprised to see the healer. Aissata, what brings you here? Djeneba asked, trying to hide her unease. Aissata closed the door behind her, her expression serious. We need to talk, Djeneba. I know who you really are. Djeneba's face frightened. What do you mean? Aissata took a deep breath. You are Princess Djeneba from the neighboring kingdom. I recognized your name in an old treaty. You were sent here to destabilize our empire, weren't you? Djeneba's eyes filled with tears, and she looked away. Yes, it's true. My family sent me here with that purpose, but things have changed, Aissata. I have changed. Aissata's heart softened as she saw the torment in Djeneba's eyes. Tell me, Djeneba, what has changed? Djeneba wiped her tears, struggling to find the right words. When I first came here, I was filled with anger and a sense of duty to my family. I was prepared to do whatever it took to weaken Mali. But then I met Musa, his kindness, his vision for the empire. It moved me. I began to see a future here, a future with him. Now, I find myself torn between my duty to my family and my love for him. Aissata sat beside her, taking her hand in hers. Your heart is in turmoil, I can see that. But hiding the truth will only cause more pain in the end. You must come clean to Musa. Djeneba shook her head, fear evident in her eyes. He will never forgive me. I have deceived him. If he knew the truth, it would break his heart. Aissata's voice was gentle but firm. Djeneba, the truth has a way of coming out, no matter how deeply it is buried. Musa deserves to know the real you, and you deserve a chance to live without this shadow over your soul. Djeneba's resolve began to crumble, and she poured out her heart to Aissata. She spoke of the immense pressure from her family, the expectations that had been placed on her, and the growing love she felt for Musa. I never intended for this to happen, Djeneba confessed, but Musa has shown me a world where love and duty can coexist. I want to be with him, but I fear the consequences. Aissata listened, her heart aching for the young woman. Djeneba, love is a powerful force. It can bring nations together or tear them apart. You have a choice to make, one that will define your future and the future of this empire. Djeneba nodded, her eyes filled with a newfound determination. I will tell him, Aissata. I will tell Musa the truth, but I need your support. Will you stand by me? Aissata smiled warmly, squeezing Djeneba's hands. I will stand by you, Djeneba. You are not alone in this. Together, we will face whatever comes. The revelation of Djeneba's true identity and her heartfelt confession to Aissata marked a turning point. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but with Aissata's guidance, Djeneba felt a glimmer of hope. She knew the journey would be difficult, but she was ready to face the consequences of her past and fight for her future with Musa. Mamadou and Umar, commanders of Mansa Musa's elite forces, were seasoned warriors and strategic masterminds. They had dedicated their lives to protecting the empire and its ruler. With the growing unrest within the palace, their resolve to safeguard Mansa Musa and maintain the stability of the empire only deepened. In a dimly lit war room within the palace, Mamadou and Umar pored over maps and reports, their faces etched with concern. Mamadou, the whispers of conspiracy are growing louder, Umar said, his voice low but firm. We must act before these rumors manifest into something more dangerous. Mamadou nodded, his eyes narrowing as he considered their options. Indeed, our first priority is to ensure Mansa Musa's safety. We cannot afford any lapses in security. Their first step was to double the security measures around the palace. Guards were increased at every entrance, and patrols were intensified both day and night. Mamadou addressed the assembled guards, his voice commanding and authoritative. We are facing uncertain times, Mamadou began. Our emperor's safety is paramount. I expect each one of you to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity immediately. We cannot allow any threat, no matter how small, to go unnoticed. Umar took charge of organizing additional training sessions for the palace guards, emphasizing the importance of discipline and readiness. We must be prepared for anything, Umar told the guards. Train as if your life depends on it, because the emperor's life does. Beyond the palace walls, Mamadou and Umar focused on strengthening the army's capabilities. They knew that a formidable military presence was the best deterrent against both internal and external threats. Mamadou called a meeting with his top officers. We will conduct surprise drills and increase our readiness. I want our troops to be able to mobilize at a moment's notice. Umar added, we must also ensure that our intelligence network is functioning at its highest capacity. Information is our greatest weapon against any plot. They dispatched trusted scouts and informants to gather intelligence on potential threats, both within the empire and from neighboring territories. Their network of spies provided them with crucial information that helped them preempt and neutralize threats before they could materialize. Under their leadership, the army's strength and discipline reached unprecedented heights. They implemented rigorous training programs that focused not only on combat skills, but also on fostering a sense of unity and purpose among the troops. During a training session, Mamadou addressed the soldiers. You are not just warriors. You are the guardians of Mali's future. Your dedication and strength are what keep this empire safe. Remember that every action you take reflects on us all. Umar, standing beside him, reinforced the message. Unity is our greatest strength. We stand together, fight together, and protect each other. That is how we will ensure the safety of our emperor and our empire. The soldiers, inspired by their leader's dedication and vision, trained with renewed vigor. They knew that their commanders led by example, and they were determined to meet the high standards set for them. Mamadou and Umar also understood that maintaining internal stability was crucial. They kept a close watch on the palace courtiers and officials, aware that dissatisfaction or ambition could lead to betrayal. One evening, Mamadou and Umar discussed their strategy in private. Umar, we need to keep a close eye on those within the court who might harbor ill intentions, Mamadou said. We must identify potential traitors and neutralize any threat they pose. Umar agreed. I have already instructed our intelligence officers to monitor key individuals. We will act swiftly and decisively if we uncover any plots. Despite their many responsibilities, Mamadou and Umar always prioritized Mansa Musa's personal safety. They coordinated closely with his personal guards, ensuring that he was protected at all times. They also advised Musa on security matters, often meeting with him to discuss potential threats and their strategies to mitigate them. During one such meeting, Musa looked at his commanders with gratitude. "Your loyalty and dedication are what keep this empire strong. I trust your judgment and your commitment to protecting Mali." Mamadou bowed his head respectfully. "Your Majesty, it is our honor to serve and protect you. We will not rest until we are certain that every threat has been neutralized." Umar added, "Your vision for this empire inspires us all. We will do everything in our power to ensure that Mali remains a beacon of strength and prosperity." Under the leadership of Mamadou and Umar, the army's capabilities were honed to perfection, and the palace was fortified against any potential threats. Their unwavering loyalty to Mansa Musa and their strategic brilliance ensured that the empire remained stable and secure. Ibrahim and Issa's investigation bore fruit, revealing the full extent of the conspiracy against Mansa Musa. Their relentless pursuit of the truth uncovered a web of deceit and betrayal that threatened to unravel the very fabric of the empire. In a hidden chamber deep within the palace, Ibrahim and Issa reviewed the incriminating evidence they had gathered. Letters and correspondences detailed a plot to assassinate Mansa Musa and destabilize the empire, all orchestrated by Djeneba's family. The evidence was irrefutable. "Ibrahim, these letters are damning," Issa said, his voice heavy with concern. "Djeneba's family has been planning this for months, if not years." Ibrahim nodded, his expression grim. "We must take this to Mansa Musa immediately. He needs to know the full extent of the betrayal." They made their way to Musa's private chambers, their hearts heavy with the burden of their discovery. Musa, sensing the gravity of their visit, received them without delay. "Mansa Musa, we have uncovered a conspiracy against you," Ibrahim began, laying the documents before the emperor. "Djeneba's family has been plotting to assassinate you and destabilize the empire." Musa's face frightened as he read the letters, each word cutting deeper than the last. "This cannot be," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Djeneba? How could she?" Confronted with undeniable evidence, Musa was forced to face the painful truth about Djeneba. He summoned her to his chambers, the weight of the betrayal evident in his eyes. "Djeneba, I have loved you with all my heart," Musa began, his voice trembling. "But these letters, they reveal a plot against me, orchestrated by your family." Djeneba's eyes filled with tears as she fell to her knees before him. "Musa, please believe me. I had no part in this. My family sent me here, but I never intended to harm you. I love you." Musa turned away, his heart torn between love and duty. "I cannot ignore this, Djeneba. You have placed the entire empire at risk. For that, you must be imprisoned." As guards escorted Djeneba away, her sobs echoed through the halls, a haunting reminder of the love that had been shattered. The revelation of the conspiracy threw the court into turmoil. Factions quickly formed, with some courtiers expressing unwavering support for Djeneba, believing in her innocence, while others condemned her as a traitor. In the council chamber, voices clashed as courtiers argued over Djeneba's fate. "She is a traitor! We should have seen this coming," one courtier shouted. "Have you forgotten all she has done for the empire? She deserves a chance to prove her innocence," another countered. Ibrahim and Issa stood firm in their resolve to protect the emperor, but they too faced criticism and doubt. "You have torn the court apart with your accusations," a noblewoman accused. "How can we be sure of the evidence?" Issa responded with calm authority. "The evidence is clear and undeniable. Our duty is to protect Mansa Musa and the stability of the empire." In the privacy of his chambers, Musa grappled with the implications of Djeneba's betrayal. His love for her remained an indelible mark on his soul, but he knew that he had to put the empire's well-being above his personal feelings. Aissata, the wise healer, visited him, offering words of comfort and wisdom. Musa, your heart is heavy, and your soul is burdened. But remember, the strength of a ruler lies in his ability to make difficult decisions for the greater good. Musa looked at her, his eyes filled with pain. Aissata, I loved her. How do I move past this betrayal? Aissata placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. In time, your heart will heal. Trust in your strength and the loyalty of those around you. We will weather this storm together. As the empire reeled from the revelation of the conspiracy, Mansa Musa's resolve was tested like never before. The betrayal of his beloved Djeneba left an indelible scar, but his commitment to the stability and prosperity of Mali remained unshaken. Khadija, a seasoned advisor and one of the few who truly understood Musa's heart, found herself in the emperor's private chambers one evening. The room was dimly lit, filled with the scent of incense and the heavy silence of Musa's sorrow. The betrayal of Djeneba had left him shattered, and the empire teetered on the brink of chaos. Khadija approached Musa, who sat by the window staring into the night. She could see the weight of the empire and his personal heartbreak etched into his features. Musa, she began softly, I know your heart is heavy with pain, but the empire needs you now more than ever. You must look beyond this betrayal and focus on the greater good of Mali. Musa turned to her, his eyes filled with a mixture of grief and determination. Khadija, how can I move past this? The woman I love deceived me. How do I lead with such a burden? Khadija took a seat beside him, her presence calm and steady. You are more than just a man in love, Musa. You are the emperor of Mali, a beacon of hope for your people. Your duty is to them, and you must rise above your personal anguish to guide them through this storm. Her words resonated with Musa, rekindling the spark of leadership within him. You are right, Khadija. I cannot allow my personal pain to cloud my judgment. But where do we begin? Khadija smiled, knowing that the first step had been taken. We must uncover the full extent of this conspiracy and bring all those involved to justice. Start by tightening security within the palace and questioning those closest to Djeneba. Trust is fragile now, and we need to ensure there are no other threats lurking in the shadows. Musa nodded, taking in her advice. I will speak with Mamadou and Umar to increase security measures and initiate a thorough investigation. Khadija continued, we also need to rebuild trust within the court. Address the courtiers directly, reassure them of your leadership, and make it clear that the safety and stability of the empire are your top priorities. The next day, Musa called for a council meeting. The grand hall was filled with anxious faces, the air thick with tension. Khadija stood by his side as he addressed the assembly. My trusted advisors and loyal subjects, Musa began, his voice strong despite the turmoil within him. We face a grave threat, not just to me but to the entire empire. The recent events have shaken us all, but we must stand united. I assure you, those who seek to destabilize our great empire will be brought to justice. He paused, letting his words sink in. I ask for your continued loyalty and support. Together we will overcome this challenge and emerge stronger. Trust that my decisions are made for the greater good of Mali, and know that I am committed to protecting our future. The courtiers murmured among themselves, some nodding in agreement, others still wary. Musa's presence and conviction, however, had a calming effect, and many felt reassured by his resolve. After the meeting, Musa and Khadija returned to his chambers to discuss the next steps. Khadija, what else can we do to stabilize the empire? Musa asked. Khadija leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with determination. We must also focus on strengthening our alliances with neighboring kingdoms. Show them that Mali remains strong and resolute. Send emissaries to reaffirm our diplomatic ties and ensure their support during these turbulent times. Musa agreed. I will send my most trusted diplomats to secure these alliances. What of the internal strife? How do we prevent further unrest within the court? Khadidia's expression turned thoughtful. We must identify and address the grievances of the courtiers. Some may feel overlooked or unjustly treated. Hold private audiences with them, listen to their concerns, and find ways to address them. This will help rebuild trust and loyalty. Over the following weeks, Musa, guided by Khadidia's wisdom, began implementing these strategies. Security within the palace was tightened, with Mamadou and Umar leading the efforts. Trusted guards were assigned to monitor the movements of key individuals, and a thorough investigation was launched to uncover any remaining conspirators. Emissaries were dispatched to neighboring kingdoms, carrying messages of solidarity and strength. The response was overwhelmingly positive, with many rulers reaffirming their support for Mali and its emperor. Musa also held private audiences with his courtiers, listening to their concerns and addressing their grievances. This personal approach helped to rebuild trust and mend the fractured relationships within the court. Locked away in the palace dungeons, Djeneba spent her days in isolation, reflecting on the choices she had made. She knew that the truth had to come out, not only to clear her name, but to give Musa the peace of mind he deserved. As the days passed, she found solace in writing a letter to Musa, pouring out her heart and confessing the full extent of her involvement and her transformation. Djeneba's hand trembled slightly as she began to write, her thoughts flowing onto the paper with an urgency driven by love and regret. My dearest Musa, I write to you from the depths of my sorrow and regret. The events that have unfolded weigh heavily on my heart, and I feel compelled to tell you the truth, no matter the consequences. When I first arrived in Mali, it was under the orders of my family. They sent me to your court with the intention of weakening your reign and ultimately taking your life. The letters and correspondences you found are true. My family orchestrated this plot. But Musa, please believe me when I say that my heart changed. As I spent time in your presence, I saw the depth of your wisdom, kindness, and the genuine love you have for your people. I began to see a future with you, one where love and duty could coexist. I thwarted my family's plot, risking my own safety to protect you, because I had fallen deeply in love with you. I am now with child, and it is yours, a testament to the love we shared despite the odds. I understand the gravity of my actions and the position it has put you in. I ask not for forgiveness, but for understanding. My love for you is true, and I would give anything to turn back time and start anew. Forever yours, Djeneba. The letter was delivered to Musa by a trusted guard. He read it in the quiet of his chambers, each word piercing his heart with a mixture of sorrow and love. The revelation of Djeneba's pregnancy added a new layer of complexity to his feelings. Later that evening, Musa summoned his most trusted advisor, Khadidia, to discuss the contents of the letter. Khadidia, Musa began, handing her the letter, read this and tell me what you think. Khadidia read the letter carefully, her expression thoughtful. Musa, this letter reveals a woman who has made grave mistakes, but who has also shown remarkable courage and love. The revelation of her pregnancy complicates matters, but it also offers a chance for redemption. Musa sighed deeply, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. What should I do, Khadidia? How can I balance my duty to the empire with my love for Djeneba? Khadidia placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. You must follow your heart, while also considering the stability of the empire. Perhaps a pardon and exile are the best course of action. It will show your people that you are merciful, but also that you take their safety seriously. With a heavy heart, Musa decided to visit Djeneba in the dungeons to deliver his decision in person. As he approached her cell, his emotions swirled within him. The guard unlocked the door, and Musa stepped inside, finding Djeneba seated on a small cot, her face frightened but determined. "Djeneba," Musa began, his voice soft yet firm, "I have read your letter. Your honesty and sacrifice have touched me deeply." Djeneba looked up, tears welling in her eyes. "Musa, I am so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. My love for you is real." Musa knelt beside her, taking her hands in his. "I believe you, Djeneba. Your actions have shown me the depth of your love. But for the sake of the Empire, I must make a difficult decision. I grant you a pardon, but you must leave Mali. Your exile is necessary to prevent further discord." Djeneba nodded, her heart breaking, but understanding the necessity of his decision. "I will go, Musa, but know that my heart will always belong to you and our child." The day of Djeneba's departure was filled with a bittersweet sorrow. She was escorted to the borders of Mali, where a small contingent of loyal guards would ensure her safe passage to a neighboring kingdom where she could start anew. Before she left, Musa met her one final time. "Djeneba, take this," he said, handing her a small pouch filled with gold and a token bearing the royal seal. "Use this to build a new life, and know that you will always have a place in my heart." Tears streamed down Djeneba's face as she embraced him. "Thank you, Musa, for everything. I will raise our child with love and the hope that one day they may know their father's greatness." As she rode away, the golden sands of Mali stretched out behind her, a poignant reminder of the love and sacrifice she was leaving behind. Djeneba's departure was both heartbreaking and redemptive. Her actions had saved Musa's life, and her love for him remained an indelible mark on his soul. The revelation of her pregnancy added a layer of hope for the future, a legacy of their love that would endure despite the separation. As the empire stabilized and the court slowly returned to normalcy, Musa carried with him the lessons of love, forgiveness, and the complexities of leadership, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Years passed, and Mansa Musa's reign was characterized by a series of significant achievements that cemented his legacy as one of history's greatest rulers. He expanded the empire's borders, bringing new territories under Mali's control through both diplomatic and military means. His initiatives in education, culture, and trade left an indelible mark on Mali and the world. Yet, the story of his forbidden love with Djeneba became a legend, a poignant reminder of the complexities of the human heart. For more videos, smash the subscribe and like buttons.